Hello, and I bring you greetings and unity and oneness to everyone. This is Starseed Jason Moss. In this video, I'm going to talk about an incident which occurred in Texas, which I believe took place in October. It might have been in October of 1992. I was a volunteer firefighter for a fire department at that time, and I was very proud of my job. I saved lives, helped the community. It was a job that I held in high regard, and I served with people of great honor and respect. People with gold hearts who served the community without any thought for themselves and the danger that they put themselves in. Firefighting was, and always will be, something close to my heart. I was in my mother's garage. I was listening to the radio. There was a radio out there. And sometime in the evening, I don't know the exact hour, I'm going to be getting the details for this, I heard what sounded like an enormous explosion, which took place, I believe, in the western part of my town, Pelican Bay. It was an sonic boom so loud it shook the garage wall. This was a fairly large single-car garage, and it shook the windows inside this garage. It was a shock wave. I identified the sound as something like a shock wave. The blast front, which I identified obviously as a fireman with training, was quite disturbing for me. I was 20, and I'd been a volunteer off and on since I was 16. I was a junior fireman at 16. I'd received a lot of training from the state of Texas. I immediately ran out of my mother's garage and responded to the fire station. Ran across the courtyard, Mother's Street, and through a small patch of woods to the fire station. It wasn't far to run. I found roughly 20-30 firemen already there. They'd been having a work detail that I'd missed that night. It wasn't an official meeting, so I didn't go. Everybody was putting on their jackets. My captain at the time, Frank Clark, was telling me that, we're already being dispatched by the Azle Fire Department to this explosion. The Assistant Chief Russell Harold and the Chief Gary Trujillo, all of us were getting ready. All of us, Wayne Cullen, my lieutenant, loads of us getting our gear on, expecting the worst. Azle Fire Department then came over the radio and gave out multiple addresses from callers that were reporting a bright orange light that was in the sky over the western part of Pelican Bay. I'm not giving specific addresses. But the orange light lit up the ground around everyone's homes and brightened it up like daylight, silently, eerily but very silently. It got very, 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 very bright. Then suddenly there was a sonic boom. One of the witnesses was thrown to the ground in what we described as a concussion. He was suffering some kind of concussion from a blast front or shock wave, from some kind of an unknown explosion in the sky. They identified the explosion as taking place in the sky, but it was not on the ground. We believed it might have been a mobile home that exploded. We have propane tanks out there and butane tanks which sit above ground. So our worst fear was that this was some kind of a propane explosion of some kind, a tank explosion. The witnesses, hundreds and hundreds of people were on the road that night looking up in the sky, pointing up. Everyone, everywhere, walking around. Our fire trucks tried to get around these people. We tried to move them. He said, "You need to move out of the way. We're trying to locate the source of this explosion. We found no exploded propane tanks, no exploded homes of any kind, no debris on the ground anywhere. The man that was thrown to the ground had bleeding ears, a headache. He had been thrown down by the blast front from the sky. He said that he was witnessing a large orangish UFO in the sky, and it looked as if it was in some kind of a dogfight with F-16s. He identified an F-16 fighter as he described it. The F-16 was doing some kind of a rollover embankment just after the explosion. The F-16 was doing a rollover like this, and then it turned and it exited the area at high speed, super high velocity. There was another F-16 he identified in the area. I'm not a witness to this, just telling you what the man saw. He said that the F-16 apparently did a rollover and took off at high speed. Before the explosion, he said he had just seen the object in the sky, and other witnesses had also indicated, though we only got brief statements from them, that the fighters were apparently in some kind of a roll around in the sky with the object, rolling over like this, spinning over, coming back again. And just prior to the explosion, one of the F-16s got close enough to the orange object, the orange orb-like UFO. The explosion was so loud it shook pictures on walls a quarter, maybe half mile away. The mayor of my town was saying he lives at the other end of the town, a mile away. It shook the window. It shook windows. It broke and cracked mobile home windows. It set off car alarms. It had cracked windshields of cars. It was so loud, such a sonic explosion. Pictures on walls and homes were rattled by this explosion. Many military veterans out there said it sounded like a howitzer had gone up. They described the sound as something like a tank shooting its gun or cannon, or a howitzer, some kind of a 105 millimeter howitzer or something. It was really, really loud. Others who served in the Air Force said it sounded something like some kind of an air-to-air missile being detonated in the sky. Some of our veterans had served in action in the Gulf War and had indicated it sounded as if an actual missile or an air-to-air missile had gone off. My chief at the time, Gary Trujillo, had contacted the Fort Worth base. At the time it was known as Carswell Air Force Base. He spoke to some captain, I don't know the name, and they had that night said that the Air Force had dispatched 2 fighters to the area tracking an unknown object within the vicinity of our location of northwestern Fort Worth, of our town, over Eagle Mountain Lake. They had not given any other details, but said to call back the next day. Upon calling back the next day, my captain, Frank Clark, contacted the Air Force Base, and they had denied a captain ever existing by that name or ever speaking to anyone for that fact. And they also denied any Air Force jets in the area. It is believed at this point I made a connection within the last couple of nights that the events took place for me in 1992. I have a rather personal message which was given to me as I was asking myself. I kept asking, the question that came up in me was, what precipitated the events of 1992 and the contact with Benico, which brought that on? Where did that... the message I received from her was she was in the area, having already had contact with me, having already made contact with me, but I was unaware that I had been in contact with her in what's described by some as an abduction scenario. I'm a contactee. I don't see myself as an abductee. And that she had already been in the area and with others on a craft. And then she brought to light into my mind the memory of course, the call I went on, and the fire department call that night. I'd never made the connection before now. She's making me aware that this is connected. In fact, she's making me aware of this, that they were on that craft, and that they were brought down. In fact, it was a very loving message that she brought me, very deeply loving. The rest of this video, I'm going to say this. Out of oneness and unity and love and spiritual oneness within the hearts, to all involved, I make this statement to you. To all people involved in these operations who have been affected by this activity in your life, one way or the other. Nobody's angry with you. No one's mad at you. I ask you to come forward for oneness and unity and love. Come forward, come to the groups privately if you have to. Make contact and reach out. I am talking to you, and you know who you are. Come forward with unity and love. We are all a part of the healing and the message coming to this world at this time. I've been speaking to someone else, I won't name names here in this video, someone very, very special to me. I had a conversation with over Skype, the internet chat, and I'm just going to say, come forward, come out of the dark from the Black Ops projects, the Black Operations projects. You are not isolated, you are not alone. You're not monsters, you're not evil. You are understood. Your feelings, your heart, you are all a part of this. And the healing and the oneness and unity. You are part of the process of bringing the message and the light to the world. You are forgiven. Beyond forgiven, you are loved. You have been a part of this as much as I have been a part of this. There's not a side. There are no conspiracy theories that point fingers at people unfairly or arbitrarily, or demonize individuals. Whatever your part, whatever your role in this, whatever you feel, however badly you may feel, and whatever it is you think your part in this may be, all is forgiven. From my heart, from our hearts, we speak to you out of oneness and unity and balance of love, unconditional love, which unites our hearts into one soul within us all. You're not on that side of the fence and we're on this side of the fence. We're all in this together. You may be frightened. You may feel alone. You may feel your involvement in things in your past is just too dark. You may feel so much fear in your life over past experiences or guilt, or whatever the case may be. Join us in the light, in unity and oneness and healing. Come forward, not for my benefit or to validate me or others, but for your own. You will help in the healing process with others. The time is now. A new beginning, a new age is dawning upon us all. That time is now, and I bring that message to you from my sweet precious that I love dearly. I bring that message to you from myself and from another. I also hold dearly to my heart. I ask you, I implore you. It's not about releasing information to the public to validate others' experiences. It's about saving yourselves. Listen to me very carefully. The time of healing is now. The new age is dawning. Come forward for unity and healing and love. We are all a part of this process. All of us. Equal in every way. No matter your rank, years, and what you've done, even the pilots that night. Step forward. Come into the light. Come into love. I bring this message to you out of the pureness of unconditional love. I'm Jason Moss. Thank you for watching. Peace and love and unity with us all.